Well, hey there, you're on the internet, I have some free time, and welcome to the Triple N Network, where all you newbie nib nerds can find all the news you'll need. Let's look at an ink today, shall we? Now, today's ink is by Diamine in a 30 milliliter bottle. Denim Blue. Nice solid blue. All the tests were done in this Pelikan M200, but with an Italic nib. So, there you go. Let's check out the chromatography. Fairly predictable, I guess. There's sort of a blue and then some more blue but darker and then some very light blue at the corners. Yeah, I don't know what to say. It's just a very blue. So, there you go. Let's check out the paper tests. Starting from the top down in density, Clairefontaine 90 grams per square meter. Now, dry time was a bit long, but this is fairly hydrophobic paper, and that Italic nib is fairly big, and it's a touch on the wet side because it's a Pelikan. But as you can see, the shading is fantastic, and the water test isn't perfect. Some remains, but not all of it, to the point where that would not be terribly easy to read, and it did dye the paper just a bit. But no bleed feather spread. Next is Rhodia, 80 grams per square meter, where, again, I feel like the shading is just fantastically pronounced. But again, dry time is fairly long, because this is a very big nib, and it's a fairly wet pen, and this is pretty hydrophobic paper. Again, the water test is kind of patchy. Dyed the paper just a bit, but no bleed feather spread. Next is Tomoe River Paper, where you really get shading, but I feel like it went a little gray. Like in the light parts, it's starting to look slightly more gray. But yeah, I mean, this is Tomoe River. It takes forever to dry, so this paper with that pen, long dry times. However, I actually really like the combo because I think the shading is great and it's a very smooth feeling of writing. Water test, again, really patchy, kind of there, but it didn't dye the paper, so some improvement. Echo might be bothersome for some people because that is a fairly broad nib and this is very thin paper and it's a dark blue ink. Now, here's the 20-pound copier paper where things started to get really awful. The bleed and feather was just disgusting. The water test, as you can see, it actually started to seep up like chromatography paper, and it exploded, and it's hideous, and yeah. I'm ashamed for whoever made this paper because this is ridiculous. I mean, yes, it was a big nib and it was wet, but it should not be this bad. I hate this paper. Anyways, Mead Notebook Paper. Oh, something I should say. Because of how absorbent this paper was, I started to get hard starts, which like never happens with that pen because it's so wet. So, yeah, that was a bad sign, and it happened again on this paper, which is Mead. Yeah, not great. Bleed feather spread. It's pretty hideous, although you do get like hints of shading still, which was so weird. That's hideous, and you can't read it. So it might do better in a smaller nib, but yeah. And then Moleskine notebook paper, where it definitely went gray. I mean, this is, if you've seen my review for Diamine's Prussian Blue, this is what I think of when I think of Prussian Blue. Like, sort of this darker gray, woolly color. Prussian Blue was a disaster. But anyways, denim, 10 seconds to dry. And, I mean, just look at those strokes. You can see that at the top of the fourth one, there was a hard start. and yet look at how feathery it got. And it was a disaster. It was an utter disaster. Yeah, no, I mean, it might do better in a smaller nib, but I mean, like, look at dry times. Look at how feathery that got. That's just hideous. So, yeah, there you go. For your consideration, Diamine denim. It definitely evokes denim. It's a beautiful dark blue. It shades really well on acceptable papers. Maybe don't put it in a giant italic nib on the cheapest paper you can find. And maybe don't use it to address the envelopes, but to write the letter inside, possibly, because it is a beautiful blue. So, for your consideration from the Triple N Network, if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more, please subscribe to the channel, and thanks for watching. Bye.